The days are getting shorter and the roads are getting wetter. That's right, it is fender season once again. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 clip-on fenders that will fit on your gravel bike and hopefully keep your backside just a little bit drier. And yes, I know some people have already typed in the comments, no clip-on fender is as good as a permanent wraparound fender, and I agree, but there's some times when you just want to clip on, and for those times, this video is for you. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into the non-competitive side of cycling, riding, party pace, you have found your people, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon. You get discounts on brands we love, as well as access to giveaways, or just stop by the merch store and pick up some stickers. The first clip-on fender I'm going to talk about is this one. This is by Topeak, and it is the Defender XC11-29er. As the name suggests, this is designed for mountain bikes, but I found that it gives plenty of coverage for gravel bikes as well. Of the 3 clip-on fenders, this is one I've probably owned the longest, and it's pretty dang good. This attaches to your bike via the seat post with this adjustable quick release clamp here. And the thing I love about it the most is that it is, of these clip-on fenders, the most adjustable. So depending on the angle of your seat post, you can adjust this to really sit on top of that tire. This part slides back and forth also for some more fine adjustment. I think generally speaking, this is a pretty awesome clip-on fender. It's really wide and gives a lot of coverage, or as much coverage as a clip-on fender can give. I know it looks goofy, but you can totally use this on a road bike, on a gravel bike, on the 29er. I've used it on my fat bike as well. Probably the only downsides of this is that since it attaches to your bike via the seat post, it does conflict with other accessories. So it might eat up room where you would put a tail light, or if you run a rear bag there, then this is going to compete for that space. Another thing that sometimes bugs me about this is if you're on really rough trails, if you don't tighten this down enough, it'll kind of rotate on the seat post, so you might have it askew and start getting your back wet. But other than that, the Defender XC11-29er is an awesome clip-on fender. So the next clip-on fender is by the brand Ass Savers. You may know them. They started out with those little mini ones, which I didn't think did a whole lot. This one, however, I think this was part of their Detour line a couple years ago. This one actually worked really well. This attaches to your bike in a pretty interesting way. You have to kind of squeeze it between the seat stays and use this Velcro to wrap around your seat tube. If you do it just right, it will pinch this off and give this some rigidity. And this fender actually gives really good coverage as well in terms of a clip-on. One nice thing about this one, which is a benefit over the Defender that we just talked about, is that since this clips onto your seat tube, it leaves your seat post open. So you can run a light there, you can run a bag there, and generally have no interference. There are a couple downsides, however. Because of its design, you definitely need room between your seat stays to be able to slide this through. For example, the seat stay opening here on the hardtack is just too narrow. There's no way I'm going to be able to squeeze this through. There's also limited adjustability with this one. It's really dependent on how it rests on the brake bridge and the angle of your seat stay. So you kind of get what you get. One downside of this is that on really rough terrain, this will kind of bounce and it'll slap the tire a bit. So that's one thing to be aware of. Last kind of downside, I know it sounds like I'm totally crapping on this fender, but I actually quite like it. But I do have to point these things out. When you attach it to your frame, you do have to put some tape there because over time this will kind of bounce around and abrade your paint. As far as the folding Ass Savers fender line, this is probably my favorite one. Okay, so the last clip-on fender we're going to talk about is actually the new. It should have just released today, and it's another fender by Ass Savers. It's called the Wing, I believe. And this, my friends, is actually really cool because it solves a couple of different issues that I've encountered with the previous 2 clip-on fenders. You can see it's mounted here on the hardtack, and one really nice thing about the design is that it leaves the seat post completely open, so you can run a bag here, you can have a light here. It doesn't compete with any accessories on the seat post front. Another big plus is that it mounts on your seat stays and it has 2 points of contact. So I've taken this on some rough terrain and there's no way that it twists out of place like the Defender clip-on fender. Defender clip-on fender, that rhymes. It's been really stable in my experience. Another nice thing about it is that there is a fair amount of adjustability. It attaches to your bike with these silicone straps here, and you can really fine tune the height of the fender of where you want it to sit. Not to mention there are 3 holes of adjustment here, so you can kind of dial in the angle as well. This one is labeled gravel. They've got 2 versions, one for gravel bikes, one for road bikes. This is actually a prototype that I've been riding with the last couple weeks, and I have been pleasantly surprised. I took some B-roll with all the fenders riding through a really deep puddle in the driveway here. I was hoping that it would show the rooster tail and how it interacts with the fender, but it just didn't happen. I did take this on a trail the other day. Laura was riding behind me, and I would ride through puddles and ask her what it was doing, and it was blocking all the water. It does seem a little disconcerting at first. You'd think that there'd be water coming up here, but a vast majority of it is stopped right here. And since you can position it really close to the tire, it's actually really, really effective. Another big advantage is size and weight. It's definitely a lot smaller and lighter than the Defender, probably par with this one. Not that weight is a huge deal, but it does make it easier to pack on a trip. Also, the MSRP is pretty good. I think the final price is going to be around that $25 to $30 mark, which I think is pretty good. So I've been testing it for the last couple weeks, and I like it enough that we're going to do a collab run with Ass Savers for this fender. So if you're interested in this one, check out the link below. We're going to do a party pace version of this fender. I like it that much that I'm willing to put our name on it, and we'll notify you when they come in, and you can get your very own party pace style. Coverage between the 3 was pretty similar. It will definitely keep your butt dry, but since neither of them are full coverage, it's still going to get your drivetrain wet, but that's a trade-off for a clip-on fender. If you're interested in any of these, check out the links below. Definitely sign up to be notified when we get our own party pace fenders in the shop. It's going to be a super small run once again. And as always, keep the supple side down.